Alright, yo everybody, what's up? Welcome to part 2 of my Titanfall 2 little review thing from EA Play. My experiences with the game, what I thought about everything. We're going to specifically talk about just how I feel about the features that I've seen there. The things that they're doing, things that are the same, things that have changed, and just my reactions to all of them. I'm not going to get as much into like the crunch of just this, like the straight up, what are the guns that I used and how did they feel? That's going to be for a third separate video later, same thing with the Titans and all that. We're just going to talk about what's changed, all the community uproar right now, where I think everything feels, and then feedback directly for the developers on things that I saw. Because that's the kind of stuff they were asking me for at the event, and I just told them, hey, I want to have a little bit more time to sit on it and simmer with it, so here's where we're going to follow up. So first and foremost, everyone is pooping their pants over the new mobility system in Titanfall 2. Personally, I think that it's just fine the way that it is. Yes, they seem to be limiting the speed of like just straight up bunny hops, like doing like 20 bunny hops in a row. Like that speed may be limited now. I think I'm not positive on this, so don't take this as gospel, but I think there may be a system of diminishing returns now. So what that means is that basically they're trying to shy you away from doing the same movement more than a couple of times in a row. I'm not sure. I don't think this applies to everything across the board, but I think it applies specifically to slides and to bunny hops. So I think the idea there is that they don't want you to slide over and over and over to go faster than just sprinting on the ground. You can't do that. You have to mix up your slides with wall runs and bunny hops and stuff like that. And I think the same mentality also applies to your actual bunny hops. So I was having difficulty maintaining my momentum while b-hopping for a very long time. Now, keep in mind, I was playing on a controller, I'm playing on a monitor that I'm not used to, I'm playing on a system I'm not used to, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of factors at play there that, could just be human error and not the game being different. But I heard kind of rumblings from the devs, and I'm not sure if this was just confusion on their parts of what I was asking, or if they were trying to hint at something more to me, but diminishing returns is a phrase that came up a lot when talking to devs about this. So that may be the direction that we're heading. So basically, instead of, just hitting like one wall and then b-hopping for, literally hundreds of feet at high speeds, now you're going to have to mix it up a little bit, and you're going to have to grab a couple of more walls, and you're going to have to maybe go out of your way. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? It's impossible to say at this point. We don't know what map layouts are going to be like. Geometries of maps are completely how this, this even works. Your mobility system only works based upon the geometry of the map. So the design of maps is definitely changing in Titanfall 2. We've heard that from devs multiple times. We've seen it in the one map we have, Beatdown. Just because the mobility system is fundamentally changing does not necessarily mean that it's a bad thing or negative for the game. Map design goes hand in hand with it, and I don't know how many ways I can say it. We have to wait and see, guys. Just give it a chance. I think it's going to be just fine. The air control in Titanfall 2, according to Scripticus, is even better than it was in Titanfall 1. I have to say that I found it extremely easy to eject strafe, just like it was in Titanfall 1. I was flying across the map at redonkulous speeds, just like Titanfall 1. There was no problems there whatsoever. Bunny hopping felt fine, apart from the perhaps diminishing returns, but then again, not used to controllers. Couldn't really do a whole lot of air strafing outside of the eject strafes, but that's probably just because, again, I don't play on controllers, so I'm not used to doing that. I got it a little bit, kind of, sort of, here and there, but it wasn't great. The slides feel really good. They increase your momentum, and they conserve your momentum for the most part, at least in the direction that you are facing when you actually engage your slide. So that is cool too. A lot of really great stuff coming from the mobility system, guys. I know that there's a lot of gloom and doom. I know you're scared of it, but just let it happen. It's going to be all right. Give it time. Next up, I wanted to talk about the user interface a little bit. I know that Scripticus, who I keep mentioning, for good reasons. Watch the first part if you don't know why. He's working on UI a lot, and he's been asking in particular for a lot of UI feedback. So I guess here is my little quick section on it. I don't have a whole lot, but for people that don't already know, on the bottom left corner of your screen, and I'll put some stock footage here so you can see as well. In the bottom left of your screen, you know how in Titanfall 1 it just showed you your percentage or your build time on your Titan? Well, now, instead of having one bar there, you have two bars. You have a blue bar and an orange bar. The blue one, you can consider your guaranteed Titan charge. So that's, the charge on your Titan that you're guaranteed to have. So if you die or whatever, you will have that much at minimum. So that means that, and I brought up the dying part, so this should already allude to what the next one is. There's an orange bar, which sits a little bit past the blue one. Now, this one charges up a little bit faster than the blue one, and this is kind of almost, you can sort of consider it like gray health in Street Fighter if you play that, so it'll pretty much allow you to have a higher maximum, but if something were to happen, like you get hit, or in Titanfall's case you die, then you lose that extra maximum and you go down. So I don't think you lose charge for dying necessarily, but basically you get a bonus to your charge for going on like kill streaks or getting, a high score per minute or whatever. Just doing cool things or playing very well is going to get you bonus on your Titan charge and help you get it even faster. So it's not quite a kill streak where you must kill 5 people without dying to get an airstrike or whatever, like Call of Duty 4. This is more along the lines of, even if you're not doing well, you're still going to get a Titan eventually, and it's the same as Titanfall 1. But if you're doing really well, you're going to get more Titans. So they have to balance the game around that, but I'm sure they've done that with removing shields from Titans and making them generally, a lot less survivable. So it's a give and take. It's just a different way of approaching the balance of the game, and I'm sure that it's going to end up being fine. But anyways, I'm getting away from the UI thing. So there's that UI element. I found that to be not very confusing, but I didn't, understand it at first. It was not intuitive to me at first. So I don't know if this is something that could be explained better on the UI, just, from a basic UI standpoint, or if this is something that needs to be explained more in a tutorial or what. But I didn't realize that it was there at first, and, I noticed the 2 different bars and asked about them, and that was pretty much the answer that I got. So it would be really nice to have a little bit more of an inclination of how that all works. In terms of your grenades and your pilot kits and Titan kits and all that, they look very Mass Effect in that once you use them, they have a little like pulsating bar that fills up from the bottom to the top that shows you how close it is to recharging. That's all fine. It looks a little bit different than Titanfall 1. Like the art direction there is just a little strange. Like the buttons that show like your grappling hook, your grenade or whatever, are a little bit bigger than they were in Titanfall 1. They take up a little bit more space, but at the same time they're pretty much transparent and they don't get too much in the way. So there's just a different way of approaching it. I don't dislike it really, but I don't really like it either. I'm very neutral about them. I mean, I don't know. They don't seem to really fit the theme of Titanfall 2 or just Titanfall in general. They appear very clean. They appear very, smooth, like, it's like a Hammond Robotics design thing. And it doesn't have like that dirty grit of the Frontier that Titanfall 1's was a little bit closer to having. Maybe not so quite as much, but it felt a little bit more utilitarian and a little bit less pretty. So I don't know. I'm not an art person. I might not be really being very helpful here, but that's just the first impression that I had based upon that element of the UI. When you switch weapons, that little indicator that points to your gun and tells you what you have, I think is still back. I don't remember if it necessarily points to your gun anymore, but it still tells you like the weapon that you pulled out, and then like some like a quick message about it. Like for the Archer rocket, you'll see that it says it's a lock-on rocket, whatever. I don't remember the exact phrase. Doesn't really matter. It'll tell you the level of your weapon. So there is leveling on weapons now in addition to just your player level. So that's going to be tied in with the progression system, and we'll find out more about that later. That's all fine. I think that looked just dandy the way it was. Other UI elements in Titans, your health bar, I found it very difficult to tell how much health I actually have and how much damage I'm taking. Like, as I take damage, yeah, the bar just kind of depletes or whatever, and it has a cool little animation where the bar expands vertically, with however much damage you just took from that individual hit. That's all fine, but I really miss just the little hash marks on the health bar that show you, they kind of give you a better idea of how much health you actually have, because I don't know what half of a bar on an Ion is actually worth. But then again, if I'm coming into Titanfall 1 as brand new, I don't know what 3 bars of health on an Ogre is worth either. I have no frame of reference. So I guess it's not that great of an argument. But I really do miss the little pips on the bar. Those were very, very, very helpful to me, and they just helped me to have a little bit better of an understanding of where that I was standing. The dash bar, so in Titanfall 1, when you dash, you just have a very tiny little, dash, appear underneath your crosshair. that shows you, your total capacity of dashes and how many you currently have. In Titanfall 2, it's not a small little dash. It is a very large bar near the bottom of your screen that fills up over time. And I don't know, I just didn't really like it as much. I really enjoyed the more compact look of the original in Titanfall 1, and the way that this one is vertically much narrower and horizontally much longer. I don't know, it has lost the the identity of being a dash bar, or of just signifying how many dashes that I have, and I did not like that very much. That's something that I would, personally like to see reverted back to something closer to Titanfall 1, where it's just that more compact little tic-tac looking thing as opposed to that long bar that it is now. But really, if that's one of my biggest complaints about the UI, then you guys are doing a really great job. So, yeah, very, very nice so far. What else do we have? I think the only other thing that I really wanted to hit on was the mini-map. It's very interesting what they've decided to do now with, instead of showing an enemy pilot's exact location, it just shows a general direction, or if they're very close to you, then it shows like a radius around you. So you must use your ears, you must sound whore a little bit, you must just be situationally aware to figure out where someone is actually firing from. To combat that, you'll notice that a lot of bullets have like very, very, very prominent bullet trails now if you watch very closely. So that'll help you to determine where someone is shooting from, but I don't know, it's a different change. I'm totally fine with it. The only thing that I would suggest is just to make sure that the when you're pointing in like a general direction at an enemy pilot, that it's not centered on them. Like, it's a cone pointing out, but I hope the center of the cone is not centered on the pilot. I hope that there is some wiggle room there. And I'm sure that Respawn has already thought of that, and I'm sure that they're already counteracting that, and that they're not quite exactly in the center of the cone, but I would just hope that there is just a little bit of attention paid there, just to make sure that if they're intending for there to be uncertainty on the minimap, that there is in fact uncertainty, and it's not just like, just look at the center of the cone and that's where they are. So just pay attention to that, guys, and I think that the UI is looking just fine the way it is. The overall impressions, like I said before, it looks a little too pretty, a little too Hammond Robotics for me. I would like to see it a little bit more gritty, a little more Titanfall 1, where it's a little more utilitarian, a little bit less prettiness. But you know what? It's a new game. Everything seems to be very much so cleaned up and prettier and more Hammond Robotics-y, more advanced in this game, because it's set in a little bit in the future, and all the Titans are more advanced than Atlas Strider and Ogre, blah, 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 blah. So, that might just be the general art direction of the game, and that's just the way that it's going to go, and, so be it, fine. That's just my 2 cents on the whole matter. One other thing that I know Scripticus was asking me in particular was, how does it feel to be shot, at least in terms of the UI informing you that you've just taken damage? And it was hard to say, just because I haven't played a lot of games, and I was playing in a very loud environment with a lot of other people. It's just hard to say, given the environment that I was in. I wasn't sitting at home and being comfortable, so I found it fine. There was, the redness on your screen, and there might be a little bit of view kick or aim punch, I guess is the proper term. I don't know what the proper term is. And it was all fine. It wasn't, stupendous. It wasn't great, but it wasn't any worse than Titanfall 1, as far as I could tell. I didn't dislike it. I didn't have a problem with it from the times that I was playing with it, so I think that it's fine where it's at. But I really, really, really would like to test it out for myself on my own setup. And I'm sure, I'm positive that I will whenever the Titanfall 2 technical test is released out to us. I don't know if they're going to give out an early press copy to press people like me, or if, we're all just going to start at the same time. But, yeah, I will evaluate that a little bit more at that point in time when I can do a better job for you guys. I'm not going to commit to saying that it's great or bad at this moment, because I'm not too sure, but nothing was particularly offensive about it, so that's pretty much it. Next on my list, and I'm just bouncing all over the place here, guys, I wanted to talk about the idea of Titans as heroes. So there's not going to be any, or if there is any Titan customization in terms of mechanics, it's going to be very little customization. So there's kind of a debate right now on Reddit as to what we can actually change that's not just like a skin. It seems to me like there are some Titan kits that you can change, like, like Guardianship from Titanfall 1, for example, or Survivor from Titanfall 1. I think we may actually be able to change a few of those things, perhaps. I'm not positive or entirely sold on that yet. because those are, just those passive abilities like that seem to not be tied directly to the Titan. They seem to perhaps be alterable. They may not be. We'll end up seeing when the game actually comes out. But those are still going to be there. If you look very closely at some of the reveal trailers that have been shown so far, you will notice over the top of Auto Titans, it'll either say Auto Titan or it'll say Enhanced Auto Titan, or it might say the Titan's actual name, whatever. But if you see Enhanced, then that's your cue that it is a guardianship in there, or whatever they're calling it in Titanfall 2. So just be aware of that. That's the thing. But back to the idea of Titans as heroes. It's different. I guess I can sort of understand the developer's argument for when you see an enemy Titan, you don't immediately know what that Titan is going to be packing and how it's going to try and fight you. And, while that may be somewhat true, I don't know how much I agree with it. I really, really did not have a problem in Titanfall 1 with looking at an enemy Titan and just looking at the gun in their hands, because by seeing that, I have a general idea of how they're going to play. Now, on the other hand, I do understand the argument when you're coming from the perspective of, does this enemy Titan have Big Punch? Does this enemy Titan have Vortex Shield? Do they have Particle Wall? Do they have Electric Smoke? Their tactical abilities and all that stuff, you couldn't tell. They wouldn't have a different missile rack on top for, what kind of ordnance they had, for example. It was all just the standard one for the Titan. And what's really interesting, actually, which was a bug in Titanfall 1, is those missile racks actually were interchangeable between Titans. So, for example, if you were playing as an Atlas, and then you switched to an Ogre partway through, sometimes your missile rack would be the Atlas's missile rack and not the Ogre's missile rack, or, vice versa. You could switch from an Ogre to Atlas and have the Ogres on the Atlas or whatever, and it would change the silhouette of your Titan, but it wouldn't have any mechanical impact on it. And I don't know if the hitboxes changed. I doubt that they did. But, yeah, that was a thing. So I think maybe in Titanfall 1 that was... Oh, sorry about my phone going off there. That might have been something they were experimenting with, is having different models on the Titans to kind of better show off what they're actually wielding and to make that silhouette a little bit more easily identifiable. But they didn't go through with it. So in Titanfall 2, instead of going the route of giving Titans unique silhouettes based upon what equipment they have, they are just making Titans have a standard set of equipment, and that's that. For a newcomer, that makes a lot of sense. For the newer player, for the casual player, that's very, very, very good, because it helps them understand the game more readily, more quickly. For the advanced player, unfortunately, it's not as great, because people like me are the ones that really want to delve deep into this game and crunch into this game and really just customize to my heart's content, and I will be willing to take the extra time to learn what in the world all of the different equipments look like. So I know to look for the gauntlet on their left arm if they have a vortex shield. I know to look for, the particular sized and shaped missile rack on their back if they have a cluster missile versus multi-target missiles versus rocket salvo versus the shoulder laser that we know is in Titanfall 2 or whatever. All that stuff was readily... If all that stuff was readily identifiable to us, then I think that would be a good approach too, but it seems that they have not gone that route this time around. They are just making everything static on the Titans, so that's not going to change, I don't think. I really, really doubt that it's going to change at this point. It's way too late in development for them to change that. That is an early design decision that they have to build everything else around. So that's the way that it's going to be, guys. No amount of feedback is going to change that. The only thing that might change, if it's even, maybe, I don't know. I'm totally guessing here, but the only thing that could possibly change is those Titan kits, like Survivor, Guardianship, things like that. So it's just a wait and see thing. We'll have to play with it and find out how it is. Titans don't have shields anymore too, which is like jaw-dropping for like everyone that played Titanfall 1, especially LTS. Everyone's freaked out about that. To counteract that, though, when you are doomed, you no longer have your health just melt away. Doom state just means that your Titan is now able to pretty much be one-hit killed by powerful hits, outside of like acts of God, like a Titan falling on you or something. So that's kind of what Doom State is supposed to signify now. So you can stay doomed forever, but you also could just take a critical shot from a powerful weapon and immediately explode and have no chance of ejecting. So that's kind of the trade-off there. So you're getting a little bit of health back on your Titan by doing that, a little bit more survivability. So it almost seems like you're first health bar does not matter as much. It's more about once you get into that second health bar, how risky are you willing to be? How are you willing to risk dying just to stay in your Titan a little bit longer, or is it worth it to eject? So there's a little bit of metagame there. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but a very good design decision to not make the Doom state have your health tick down now that there's no shields, because you have to have a little bit of extra survivability, a little bit of extra padding that that shields used to provide. So, and who knows? It might even be that one of the Titans that comes back may actually have shield as a passive ability, or they may have shields as one of their core abilities, or whatever. We don't know yet. We'll have to just wait and see. There's still 4 more to be revealed, or no, I guess 3 more now, because we know about Ronin. So there's only 3 more to be revealed. Who knows what the other 3 are going to have? But we have now basically a little brother to the Ogre, a big brother to the Atlas, and a big brother to the Strider right now. So we're looking for another, and I guess it's a sister to the Atlas technically, because Ion's a girl. But yeah, we have 3 more Titans to see, and they're each going to be a variant of Ogre, Atlas, and Strider. At least that's what it looks like to me based upon the silhouettes that we're seeing. So who knows what they're going to have? We might have a tank version of Ogre that has the shield core coming back and stuff like that, or we might actually just get the straight up old Ogre, because I've heard reports of 6 Titans and I've heard reports of 9 Titans. Some of the developers were not entirely, I don't know if they were not understanding my question, or if they were intentionally being vague, or if they confirmed something they shouldn't have, or if I am saying something that I shouldn't say, or how this is all going. But I'm not convinced as to whether there's going to be 6 Titans in Titanfall 2, or if there's going to be 9, with the last 3 being the actual Atlas, Strider, and Ogre. Because I know some of the answers that we've gotten from developers up to this point have been, well, the Atlas, Strider, and Ogre are no longer in production, when we asked if they were going to be in the game. So that is a very, very, very strong hint that they may still actually be there. Just because they're not in production anymore doesn't mean that they can't show up in some capacity. Maybe they're just in single player. Maybe they don't show up at all. But hey, either way, after asking that question to devs, nobody said, nobody gave me a concrete answer either way. Nobody said, hey, just between you and me, and then don't share this. So I'm going to go ahead and share it. So if you guys didn't want me to, I'm sorry, but you never told me not to. So we will see where that goes. But yeah, this whole Titans as Heroes thing, I don't know. I mean, the customization is really hurting a lot of people, just mentally, and then it's hurting their souls. But I think it's going to be okay. As long as we're not going into a game of, well, Ion is a hard counter to Ronin because this, and that. And, I don't want it to end up being that way. I really liked in Titanfall 1 where any Titan could beat any other Titan, and it was more based upon who is positioning better, who is the better player, who has better aim and all that. To an extent. If you're playing like the super duper ultra mega meta builds with the top of the line players, then yeah, we're gonna break that. You're gonna have to play an Atlas with 40 mil or arc cannon, and with a particle wall and cluster missile, and that's just kind of how it has to be. At the top end of the game for the most part. Maybe with a Strider mixed in, but that's it. So in Titanfall 2, I'm really, really looking forward to having a lot more variety in terms of Titan fights and a lot less longevity in Titan fights, because as it stands right now, especially in public games, you get one Titan, you can keep that Titan all game. Like, if you play effectively with your shields and you just play defensively, you can top the leaderboards while never losing your Titan, or maybe losing one the entire game. And there's absolutely no risk involved, because once you're in your Titan, you stop dying as a pilot. You stop feeding points to the enemy team, at least in an attrition environment. And if you're not losing your Titan, then you're just gaining nothing but positive points for your team, and you're losing absolutely nothing whatsoever. So the fact that Titans are less survivable this time, they may have more health or whatever, they may be able to really take a beating, but you can whittle them down more effectively and more readily this time around. So it's going to keep the game dynamic. I think it's a good change for the game. It's going to keep people playing as pilots for longer. It's going to help people drop more Titans, and just the feeling of dropping a Titan is a very good one. So being able to do that more often is very positive for players, especially for newer players, but I guess for anyone. No matter if you dropped one Titan or a million, it still feels good to drop your Titan. So it's all good stuff. So, I mean, I guess, like, in summary, just, like, a lot of the things that I've been talking about so far is there's a lot of gloom and doom about this, but, guys, you haven't played with it yet. You haven't experienced it yet. It feels totally fine. I really like the idea of all your individual Titans having character and all that. We just need more time to play with it and to experience it and to prove to everyone else how great it actually is, because it's really, really phenomenal. It's tremendous. The one thing that I didn't like about these new Titans, and maybe this is just because I'm coming from Titanfall 1 and I, have a soft spot in my heart for the original 3 Titans, is that I find these new Titans just silhouettes to be confusing, to run together, to not be as easily identifiable as they were in Titanfall 1. So it's a little bit, it was, for the first hour or so of playing, it was very difficult for me to identify the difference between Ion and Scorch when I was playing. Just for some reason, the silhouettes just looked very similar to me. They were both very thick in both the arms and legs and torso. Although now that I've played a little bit more, Ion is very angular, whereas Scorch is very rounded, and he has those big broad shoulders that Ion does not have. So it just took me a little bit more time to identify that at first, which I don't know if I was a huge fan of or not. I mean, I think it's probably inevitable that you're going to have a little bit of difficulties at first, and you have to spend some time learning. And that's kind of just the exact opposite of the complaint that I had before, where I wanted to see, silhouette differences between Titans based upon their loadouts, and I like the learning curve. So, I hate to contradict myself there, but it's probably fine. It's probably just an individual problem that I had, was identifying the different Titans at first, but I'm getting a little bit better at it. And I'm actually starting to think that we've already seen like all 5 or all 6 Titans in the game and all the previews there, because they're silhouettes from these some of these Titans that we very briefly see in the background, or fighting with BT on top of that one ship in that one clip, for example. I think those are some of the unrevealed ones so far. And it's becoming a little bit easier for me the more and more that I watch to identify them, which is expected. So maybe it's not really a fair concern to have, but there's that, And the reason that I keep using silhouettes and all that is because we're going to have customizable colors and nose arts and all that, so we're not going to be able to identify Titans based on their colors, their color schemes. It's going to have to be just their silhouette, just their outline, their overall shape. So just have to pay extra attention to that. Other feedback that I have for the game, I don't think I have a whole lot at this point, in terms of like little nitpicks here and there. I think that's the majority of the things that I had, the things that I wanted to talk about. So I will go ahead and leave you guys with this, because I know we're already running close to a half an hour here, and I've got to leave for work pretty soon. So this is where we're going to end it for now. Next video, I will talk about the actual mechanics and crunch of the game. So what are the weapons that I used? How did I feel about them? What were the Titans that I used? What exactly were their loadouts? How did they work? How did they feel? And we'll really dive deep into that whole aspect of the game. It'll probably be a few days before that comes out, just because I'm going to be very short on time to record all this stuff. So probably next week I'll have a lot more free time. I have a couple of days off of work, or just shorter days. I'm not working like doubles or something, so I'll be able to make that happen for you guys. Just need a little bit more time for that crunch, but I figured we could wait the longest for that, because it's not like a lot of the values that I'm going to be talking about are going to be set in stone or are going to make it into the final release. And then I may even do a 4th video if a bunch of other people don't already do it before me and do a really nice job with it, where I will break down some of the single player, multiplayer trailers and the B-roll footage that you've been seeing on repeat here. Over the past couple of videos, I might break that down and just point out every little itty-bitty thing that I see, and just go on a total information overload for you guys, because there's a lot of really, really, really nifty stuff hidden in those trailers that you have to watch very closely to find out. And you have to watch, back and forth, like watch certain events over and over to really figure out what's going on in your peripheries, because there's a lot of stuff that's really cool that's hidden in there. There may be the 4th Titan's name is hidden in there. There's a couple of weapons hidden in there that we haven't seen. You actually get a decent look at the softball in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So some interesting stuff in there, guys, but I'll wrap it up here for now. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other feelings or thoughts or feedback about the game for Titanfall 2 that you want Respawn to know about, and I'm sure they'll probably be checking out the comments section here. I know that if there's anything that's particularly good that gets posed in the comment sections, I will forward those along to Respawn, excuse me, to make sure that they see as well, because they really, really are looking out for the community. They really do want to deliver the best product that they can for you guys. It's the whole reason that they're making it, so just be careful with all the doom and gloom. They are on your side here. Anyways, guys, thanks. We'll catch you next time. Peace.